Epstein Island is something a lot of people know about, but what about his New Mexico ranch, the plans for it, and how he actually bought it from our governor?
Good afternoon. The state land commissioner has ended the grazing deal with Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch.
I'll say what I did in the video I made like 2.5 years ago. If Too Little Too Late had a mascot, it would be right there. So in 1993, Jeffrey Epstein decided to purchase a home here and some land from our former governor, Bruce King. This was the land that Zorro Ranch would encompass. However, why would they cancel land tracts if he owned it, grazing rights? Well, because we not only sold him the land, he also was leasing a ton of property around it, several acres, from the state. I'm getting ahead of myself. Why choose New Mexico? Because other places that he was at, once he got the convictions that he got, he would have had to register there. But in New Mexico, we're so lax on that kind of thing, he wouldn't have to register here. So the ranch was in the middle of nowhere. It's about an hour outside of Santa Fe. It's about an hour and a half from where I live. And he's like, you know what? I don't have to register. Nobody's gonna bother me. I got the governors in my pocket. Yahtzee! This is the land that was actually purchased, and the land that was leased for grazing rights was all around here. Right now, that lease was not canceled until 2019, over a year after his passing, when the land commissioner went out there, tried to gain access, and was denied by the private security that was maintained until its sale last year. And you know, the craziest part of that story is she went out with police. I didn't know if the police knew where that place was. Huh. JK, they probably went for dinner on occasion. Allegedly. Fun side fact about Bruce King, just kidding, it's not fun, but he was corrupt in a lot of other areas and was in a lot of trouble in his career because he had conflicts of interest, meaning he would take land that he already owned, have the state bid on it, the state would purchase it, and he would pocket the money and deny all the other bids. That is not by any means the only elected officials that he had ties to. Moving on, we get to Gary King, Bruce King's son, who accepted many campaign contributions from him. To which Gary, our attorney general at the time, said, fine, I'll give the money back. Jeez. We just hung out all the time, so I don't even know. And check the date, 2014. Nobody knew about this till 2008. Another governor, but it wasn't just our governors. Our scientists actually got a little piece of that pie too. But why scientist? Well, because his use for that ranch was going to be basically a baby farm, and he wanted those scientists in so that he could figure out how to play with genetics to make the best possible versions of what does that sound like to you? Not to mention the scientists, it wasn't just scientists that live here. It was people who were flown in, all that stuff, because if you took a helicopter, you could just fly right into the ranch. Now, if you were on the plane, you had to fly into the Albuquerque Sunport, which had a ton of flight logs also. Oh yeah, the property has its own infrastructure and airport. You would find a completely functioning town with fire retention tanks and also like a literal fire station with this gigantic fire truck in it, which sold with the property because the FBI never fully raided this place. It was completely full when it was sold with all the stuff that had been there, except for a few computers that the FBI did come in and get, but from my understanding, it wasn't a full raid. Obviously, it's got its wells, got all that stuff, right? So this is a town, not really necessarily just like a ranch. This is the town portion, including houses that were designed specifically so that people could have experiences. You've got a cabin, like this really like cookie cutter kind of white picket fence house, lots of stuff like that, right? There's a bunch of those. This is just the town though. This is not where his house was. You have to go up this big hill. That is where you will find his house, which is gigantic, was full of stuff, a bunch of crazy paintings in there and stuff like that. But I'm probably gonna do another video to actually give you guys like the house tour because it's a lot. It's a huge place. This is a little better view of the house to kind of give you an idea of the size. Huge. There's a huge pool in here. This is where the helipad is, and you would go down a little road to get to the town. But here's another kicker. Just because you were let into the town and got through those 2 to 3 security gates to get to the town does not mean you were welcome in the main house, because there was an additional security gate to get up to the house. And full-on security all over the entire property that, again, was paid and maintained until this property sold to someone else.
The huge property once owned by disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has been sold after 2 years on the market. An attorney for his estate confirmed today it was sold for an undisclosed amount, and the proceeds would be used to administer the estate and pay creditors. The property was listed in 2021 for $27.5 million. It was later dropped to $18.
The property was sold for an undisclosed amount, and one of the biggest questions people always have is so the proceeds definitely went to help the people that were, oh, absolutely not. The state of New Mexico kept the majority of the proceeds and paid back groundskeepers and this sort of stuff, but said they had a lot of maintenance. None of the money went to anyone who needed it, not to mention that the people who actually bought this are now suing the state because they feel that they had to pay too much property tax. Hey, you want to dance with the devil, you're going to be in the pale moonlight. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to tell you. Any money that would have been left over after the state of New Mexico took its cut, which I guarantee you was nothing, would have gone to his estate because the groundskeepers and the little blonde lady I mentioned were all his employees previous to his passing and continued on until the house was sold. Not to mention a few people have tried to sneak onto the property and faced pretty severe criminal penalties, which is kind of ironic considering what was actually going on out there, because someone broke in and tried to steal the mirror from the fire truck like 3 years ago. The situation in a nutshell, however, it goes so deep. I'm going to make you a part 2 and take you through the house because Sotheby's actually did a home tour video when this was still on the market. It's not available anymore, but thankfully I screen recorded it. So I'll see you then, and I hope you have a good day.